Let's bring in Brett Baer, anchor and executive editor of Special Report. Brett, we hear that the announcement is going to take place 6 p.m. tomorrow night in a Twitter Space conversation that Ron DeSantis will have with Elon Musk. Wow. It doesn't get much bigger than that.
That's one way to do it.
Yeah.
That's right. John, Jillian, good afternoon. I think we obviously all saw this coming, and it was going to happen, forecast to be this week, and now we have the specifics of how it's going to happen. Tomorrow, 6 p.m. Eastern Time, Governor Ron DeSantis will officially become a candidate for the presidency in 2024. The interesting thing about it is, one, his choice of venue, using Twitter, an interview with Elon Musk, that springboard perhaps to touch the MAGA faithful. And also that he has made his rounds. He has been to Iowa, New Hampshire, South Carolina, Nevada. He's been to other states already, and now the official campaign begins. So the question will be whether he closes the gap with the former president or whether this becomes a real brawl. We've already seen the former president, Donald Trump, spend more money on Ron DeSantis through his PAC and ads than they spent on supporting candidates in the midterms of 2022. That's a pretty staggering fact.
Brett, we've been talking about DeSantis' potential candidacy for months. Why do you think the team decided now or tomorrow is the moment?
Well, that's a great question. I thought there was some thought that we were going to wait until the end of the legislative session, which might have been all the way to June. There may have been a thought that he was losing ground and taking some shots. The Disney back and forth didn't necessarily benefit him entirely. There are some people who said he fought valiantly, but really Disney fought back.
Wrong.
So I think there have been some missteps along the way as far as the planning and the strategy, and maybe they thought it's better now to get in than not.
Yeah, so when we talk about the timing for getting in, a lot of people thought that DeSantis waited too long already. As you pointed out, maybe he thought that he was losing ground. But I think it's worthwhile pointing out that Donald Trump got into the race in 2015 on June the 14th, his birthday. So that's still 3 weeks from where we are now. So, you know, if you use Trump as a measure, DeSantis still had some time. But when you take a look at the Real Clear Politics average of polls I've got up in front of me here, Trump is still in the average 37 points ahead of DeSantis. A lot can change as the campaign gets underway and support waxes and wanes. But that feels like, at this point, an insurmountable lead, Brett.
Yeah, and it definitely does at the beginning. And the former president will say it's over. You know, and his supporters will say it's done. We shouldn't even have this primary. But there is a primary, and Governor DeSantis is going to be, he has a lot of money. We just saw Senator Tim Scott get in the race with $20+ million plus some significant backers. Ron DeSantis has much more than that, and he will be a formidable candidate on the trail. The question is whether he takes off and where the trajectory goes. We understand the first interviews with Trey Gowdy on FNC at 8 p.m.
Brett, talk to us about why you think the campaign chose the venue, which you mentioned off the top. He's going to announce this thing tomorrow on Twitter Spaces. I haven't done a fact check, but I believe this is a first for a presidential candidate, a major party candidate. And also,
he's a fucking idiot. That's why. But we'll see. We'll actually see. I'm not so bearish on Twitter's possible capabilities of elevating the conversation. Not internally on Twitter, obviously, but I do think that the secondary market for whatever happens on Twitter is big because all the journalists are on Twitter. Okay, that's the reality. That's something you got to always remember. All the journalists are on Twitter, so whatever happens on Twitter does get an elevated status. Okay, they do, because journalists love covering dumb shit on Twitter. Okay, so I do think that that will not have the same national prominence immediately that it would if it was on Fox News. But I do think that it might have a lot of. Doing a presidential announcement on Twitter Spaces is moron coded. I agree. That's what I'm thinking. That's what I'm thinking as well. However, remember, what happens on Twitter is always going to get a lot of media coverage. Now, it's more so that, like, would you get more media coverage if you were on Fox News and people would cover it on media anyway? Probably. So for that reason, I still think it's stupid, but I don't think it's as stupid as we suspect it is. You know what I mean? Especially because Elon Musk is on there too now all of a sudden.
Also, this is not a segment about Elon, but what's in it for Elon?
Well, listen, he has been very deferential, let's say, to Governor DeSantis, and has at one point said that he would support DeSantis if he ran for president. I don't know how that evolved or where he is now, but clearly the fact that he is doing this interview suggests that he at least supports him in some way. The fact that Elon Musk has been this figure of free speech, of anti-woke, of letting people get there on the platform, for the MAGA crowd, for the base, that's significant, and it means a lot. And I think Ron DeSantis is trying to touch that. He knows he's under attack from the former president, and will continue to be as those ads continue to pile up.
Elon Musk is also trying to turn Twitter back into a $44 billion company. So the more attention that he can put on it, I think the more helpful it will be for Musk to get it back up there. We saw some pictures just a moment ago of Ron DeSantis and Casey DeSantis. And it seems to me that based on that Politico article of a few days ago, that she is going to factor prominently in this campaign as well. And she will be under a level of scrutiny that the presumed nominee's spouse on the other side, Dr. Jill Biden, likely won't be. Speak to that for just a little bit, because this piece that was done on her was widely seen as a very unfair, some people said misogynistic hit piece.
Yeah. It's interesting. She is someone who, if you talk to donors who have been in the room with the DeSantises, they say that she works the room and that she lights up the room, and that, she's a former TV personality, TV anchor. She has a big personality, and she can identify with folks. She's really good, especially with wives of business leaders, or with business leaders who are women. She's done her own events that have identified and really touched a chord. She obviously had her battle with cancer as well. So she is a real asset to Governor DeSantis. And to any fault that he has in working a room or not asking questions to everybody there, she kind of makes up for that. I think just anecdotally, he's gotten better about how he works a room and how he asks questions in recent months. But she's a real asset, and you're right, that piece was a little over the top.
Brett, DeSantis' whole platform, for lack of a better word, because he wasn't a candidate until now, has been taking what he has done in Florida, the legislation, the policies he's implemented, and taking that national. Is there evidence, you think, that this is going to work for his candidacy?
That's a great question, Jillian. And I think what has been the focus of the coverage is the anti-woke stuff. Woke, Florida is a place where woke goes to die. That's his line from his acceptance speech.
Sick.
And a lot of the focus has been on the legislation that deals with that specifically. But there's other legislation as well that this governor has started and signed into law that they say totally lays out the conservative values that he's going to campaign on. So I think he's going to use that as a blueprint, as somebody who has done it in Florida, and some things that we haven't really talked about that much.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox.
Yeah, all of this is bullshit, dog. He's like fucking Literally, in my opinion, he's probably losing favor. We don't have enough data to back this up yet. But if I were a gambling man, I'd say that like his policies have actually caused him to lose favor internally inside of Florida. Okay? And part of the reason for that is because my man is hurting businesses. He's doing the number one no-no, which is, touching business interests. Conservatives hate that shit. Okay? It's like kind of the whole point of the culture wars is to distract you away. I always say this. That's a major no-no. So the idea that like you're doing your very best, the idea that you're like, looking at a national facing front, a national campaign, and you're using Florida as a testing ground for this national campaign where you're actually advocating to harm business, harm the profits of the Florida businesses is not going to be good. You also, he's also radioactive with his like, the way that he appears on television. It's really fucking weird. Like he's so, yeah, I said Herm. Shut up. Oh my God. Everyone is a baby, dude. I swear to God. Okay, DeSantis, Twitter. Let's see what the fuck is good on Bloomberg Television's take. I want to hear like we heard the analysis from Fox News, but what does everyone else think about it? What are some other outlets that think about it? What are they saying about Ron DeSantis? Okay. Gotta score this terrible drip. Make America Lorda. Oh my God, this is so fucking bad, dude. Yeah, no, this is so bad. Thread about the U-Haul that crashed near the White House. Yeah, we'll look at it later. So there's a lot to talk about. I've covered Ron DeSantis' like bad policy ideas and whether or not they will be popular with the Republican base many times over. But what I do want to focus on now is the Twitter Space like announcement. Doing it on Twitter Spaces. Like, is this a good thing? Is this an L? Is there a W? That I think is interesting. Ron DeSantis is like chances of winning. That part is, that's just dumb as fuck. No one cares in the Republican primaries. Mehdi Hasan says, it'll be fascinating to hear Musk, the free speech absolutist, grill DeSantis on the latter's well-documented crackdowns on Florida on free speech, the free press, and their books and Twitter Spaces conversation. He'll grill DeSantis on free speech, right? Yeah, of course not. Yeah, obviously not. Obviously. That's, that would never happen. That would be a ridiculous expectation. I think DeSantis probably calculates that he needs to win the internet primary at this early stage before actual ballot campaigning starts. Yeah, I still think it's stupid because there is no such thing. Like, I think people greatly overemphasize like the importance of the internet, and the internet is very important. The internet is very good at like targeting hyper niche places. The internet is very good at targeting hyper niche communities in a way that you never could, but the internet is so vast. There is no way of consolidating every single person to one fucking area. Even on Twitter, you can't get everyone to hyper focus on one specific area. Okay? So it's just not going to happen. The internet is so incredibly fucking vast. The internet is so incredibly vast that it's very difficult to like consolidate eyeballs into one specific area and get all of them to pay attention to it in the same way that television still can. They can do it in a little bit better, in ways that are a little bit better than the internet. That is, of course, talking about, Rhonda Stinky choosing Twitter as his first place.
I don't think he made an error in taking on Disney. I think that was a shrewd move. And I think most people support that. I think he may be carrying it a little
No, they
far,
don't.
but I think people are with him on this.
No, they don't.
I think that the fundamental fact of the DeSantis candidacy, though, is unfortunate, which is that I don't think he can win. Trump is still way, way, way ahead. But what he can do is, because he's chosen to run a campaign that is entirely on the right, way over hard right on abortion, hard right on guns, hard right on all of that. In a way, he's forcing Trump to move to the right, which would make him less acceptable to the moderates in the general election. For example, DeSantis passed a law saying that you can only have an abortion within 6 weeks of pregnancy. Most women don't know they're pregnant after 6 weeks. The other view, which Trump hasn't embraced, but was out there, is 15, where there's kind of a consensus about that. And the problem is that if the right to lifers and the strong anti-abortion people try to force Trump to match DeSantis bit for bit in these positions, DeSantis could move the dialogue to a point where no candidate that can win the nomination would win the election.
That is an honest conversation among strategists. If you were to ask like old school Republican strategists that triangulate way better than the Democratic Party, they would probably say that in their more honest moments. I'm surprised that this was featured on Newsmax, for the record. Okay? But he's absolutely correct. We'll see what happens, though. I think that Ron DeSantis is greatly overestimating how popular, like, Make America Florida, even if it's not his, like, actual campaign, even if it's not, like, his official campaign announcement, if he thinks that, like, Make America Florida is a viable strategy, even if it's not his announcement, it's the vibes of the campaign that's putting out, he's got another thing coming. Okay? No shot. Banning abortion at 6 weeks is also psychotic in general, cruel, unusual. But also, you know, it's just not good. It's just not, it's not successful national politics. It's not even successful in fucking Floridian politics. They're giving our children medication, brother. Dexcom G7. What the fuck? Why can't I? Oh.
News now about Florida Governor Ron DeSantis. NBC News has learned he will launch his presidential bid tomorrow evening in a conversation with Elon Musk. I want to bring in NBC News correspondent Dasha Burns. Dasha, what are you learning?
Hey, Chris, we are first to report that Florida Governor Ron DeSantis will officially step into the national spotlight, launching his bid for the White House tomorrow night on an event on Twitter Spaces with the tech billionaire mogul Elon Musk. They will be in a discussion moderated by David Sachs, who has been a supporter of Governor DeSantis. Now, this is an unconventional way to step into this presidential announcement, but it is what the campaign is looking to do, is use the reach of Elon Musk's more than 140 million Twitter followers, step by traditional media and get directly at conservative voters. Look, the staff, the campaign, the now official campaign almost, has watched Twitter become an increasingly friendly space for conservative firebrands. They've watched as Tucker Carlson has migrated his presence and his show there, and they feel like this is a space where he can really have an impact with this announcement, both in terms of reach and also in terms of the sort of themes and the contrast that they can draw between DeSantis and the other contenders here, particularly between DeSantis and former President Trump. He, as soon as he announces, will become the top challenger. to former President Trump. And of course, as we all well know, Twitter used to be his platform. It was his superpower to talk directly to the people on Twitter. And now it will be Florida Governor Ron DeSantis that is utilizing it to use it as a springboard for this presidential launch. One of the sources that we've been speaking with told us that in the conversation.
It's so fucking stupid. No. It's dumb. It's dumb. I just don't. I mean, first of all, you know what's more likely? Twitter Spaces crashes. That's more likely. 'Cause that would be fucking hilarious. Oh my God, Donald Trump is going to make so much fun of Elon Musk and also so much fun of fucking Ron DeSantis as well. It's crazy that people think this will have any traction at all. No, it will. It will have traction because people will cover it. People will say, oh my God, how unique, how interesting. But it's a gimmick. I think a lot of people forget that, like, there's a reason why traditional shit works, okay? It's a fucking gimmick. And that's a one-off, okay? It doesn't say anything about your perspective, or what it says about your perspective is really fucking stupid. That, like, you think Twitter is a safe haven for, like, conservatives. Well, sure. But, like, Twitter alone is not going to float you, you fucking idiot. It's not. Twitter can't even fucking float itself at this moment.
Between,
like, your goal shouldn't be to help out Elon fucking Musk establish Twitter as like a good platform. Like, you're doing more for Elon Musk in that regard than for your own campaign. It's very stupid.
Musk in the campaign, he made it clear that he believes that former President Trump cannot win again. He believes that DeSantis can. He believes that DeSantis is the future. And the contrast that the soon-to-be official campaign is looking to draw is just that. They will be looking to draw the contrast of future versus past, of success versus failure, of action versus talk. That is what you're going to see as he steps out into the field officially here. And we're going to see him launch a video in addition to this conversation on Twitter Spaces, which of course is an audio.
He needs a pro-business look though after Disney. Bro. First of all, Twitter Spaces doesn't even have video components, so that's going to be hilarious to see. I can't wait.
Platform for audio conversations on Twitter, but he'll have an official video, and then next week he will do a swing through some of those critical early states, hammering his message officially as a presidential candidate. Chris.
Angie's List is losing the list. From now on, it's just.
I don't even think Elon has that kind of juice anymore. Look at Trump's lead in the GOP.
For now, it is the former president who is the far-out frontrunner for his party's